Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Welcome to yet another edition of the Lambom Show. Today is Monday, July 25th, 2022. And today we are going to have a special broadcast. It's been long since I came on Monday. Today is actually the day we celebrate grandparents at the request of Pope Francis. For those who are Catholics, we are supposed to be honoring the lives of grandparents. And I find that today's broadcast is really relevant, even though we're talking about grandparents, we'll talk about parenting. I want to go back to my experience growing up in Cameroon, where I went to boarding schools. Two of them all male boarding schools, and one that was co-ed. But the tendency for us was when we came home for holidays, we had to go again for holiday classes. And there we mixed up with people who were either in day schools or who did not have the similar experience. And so for the entire year, we really did not have that time to spend with parents. So our parents always shipped us off for classes for one thing or the other. And besides that, we also had something for youth camps for Catholics, vocations camps for those who wanted to be priests, religious men and women. And so we're always either out of the house doing something or away from our parents. But coming to the United States is not the same experience. Many of the kids we have here go to schools that are not boarding schools. They are day schools, some of them public schools. Yes, there are some boarding schools here, no doubt. But the general experience has been most kids grow up with their parents dropping them off, picking them up, or having to prepare them, unlike what we had in Africa. And so it's kind of a challenge. And these days you hear a lot about, parents complain about kids. It's difficult to raise kids in the United States. We almost agree. It is difficult. And one of the most challenging periods to deal with kids is when they are teenagers, especially those who are in high school. And making the transition from high school to college, it's not easy. And it seems as if this is something that the Minangs have taken up. They identified a challenge and they proposed a solution to that challenge. And that challenge is what we are here to talk about, and the solution. And for the last 4 years, well, since 2018, they have been having a 1-week summer camp dedicated to kids aged, I think, 16 to 20, if I'm not mistaken. They'll correct me if I'm wrong, where they spend 1 week in a summer camp with these kids and handle different topics related to areas that they think they need. And the Circle of Trust is the foundation or the group that they are leading. And it's kind of interesting because this Circle of Trust is not limited only to this summer experience. There's a group, we have had to talk about this before, a group that deals with men, married men. Then there's a group that deals with married women. Dr. Dilys Minang deals with the women. Dr. Jacob Minang deals with the men. It's been long since I came back. I've not been back there for a while. I hope I'll come back. Maybe it's because they moved it from weekly to monthly. So kind of, But it's beyond just husbands and wives. You now see that it's a family thing. They also get the kids involved. So I want to talk about this because I find that it is very, very relevant. Our parents, those of us who are parents here in the United States, immigrant parents, struggling with kids, especially who are teenagers in high school, how to deal with them, how to prepare them. I don't have one yet, but I'm sure from your experience, you'll be able to learn from the Minangs. And I want to say that they always say they want just 16 kids. We're going to discuss why just 16, why not make it 50, why not make it 100, and what are the benefits. And with us on set 2, we have 2, Jason and Donna, who have benefited from this, are going to share their experience with us. And so again, welcome to all. And let me start with, okay, let me get the entire team on. So there we have Dr. Dilys Minang, Dr. Jacob Minang, Donna Wenge, and Jason Tita. So I want to start with Dr. Dilys, Dr. and Mrs.
Hi, Lambert. Thank you for having us again on this wonderful Monday evening. Thank you for receiving us again on your show. Um, it's always a pleasure coming to talk with you and share some views of ours with the world. So I'm looking forward to this one.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the great work you're doing. And let me put the man himself, Dr. Jacob.
Yeah, thanks again, Lambert. A great show. It's always a pleasure coming onto your platform. That helps us to actually reach out to our target audience, which is immigrant parents with kids ages 16 to 19, to talk about the Youth Scholar program that we run every summer.
Thank you very much. Jason, tell us a little bit about yourself, and I think you have to unmute yourself. Jason, can you hear us? Good. You have to unmute. Okay, while Jason is figuring out the technical
Having
things,
some internet issues.
yes. Donna,
Hi, my name is Donna Wangate. I'm a sophomore computer information systems major at Towson University, and I am thinking about double majoring in information technology and computer information systems. But that is about it for me right now.
so again, Donna, take it slowly for us. Let me hear you. What are you studying again?
So sorry. My name is Donna Wangate. I am a sophomore computer information systems major at
Okay.
Towson. That's in Towson, Maryland. And I am currently thinking about double majoring in information technology because I am interested in more software in information technology, and I'm thinking of double majoring. But I have to reconsider because I have to talk to my advisor about that before I put that out there. And I currently work at Amazon, but yeah, that's about it for right now.
No, thank you very much. I'm glad that at least you're going to tell us something about software. We'll learn more about the software from you. Jason, are we on now?
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we
Yes.
can. Thank God. I
Can you
just
guys
worked
hear?
out the miracle. So,
Okay.
yes, go ahead, Jason.
My experience at the Circle of Youth Trust was a
Hold
very
on,
good
hold
one.
on. Tell us
I
about
met.
yourself. Hold on, Jason.
Oh, my.
We would
Um.
like to know who you are first.
Okay. I'm from Cameroon. I was born here. I spent most of my childhood over there. Right now, I'm planning of getting a job. I have a brother, and that you think of right now.
Okay.
Okay, so again, benefit of two experiences, Cameroon and here. We'll talk about all that. But let's go to the people who started off this
Hello.
program. So, Dr. Dr. Dilys and Dr. Jacob, who wants to go
Can you hear
first?
me?
Tell us about this program. When did it start? Why did you start? And how is it going?
All right. So I am. So this program just came as part of the Circle of Trust mission, which is started off by empowering couples, and it has morphed into adding the family, the entire family. And now we say we're trying to, oh, our vision is to build strong families. When we started off with couples just trying to empower ourselves and learn from each other, we also realized that the family as a whole is one of those things that we need to focus on, not just husband and wife, but focusing also on children and what they're doing and how to help the couple as they are um, raising children in this community, in this society where we are. And so I propose this as one of the things we should do as in this organization, mainly because I had the experience of being an immigrant youth when we immigrated here with my mom and four siblings. And when we got here, I often tell the story of how I am, when we got here, we were all so excited that we missed the fact that we're coming to a whole new country. And my mom was giving up all she had, all she knew, all she had worked for in a different country and moving here. And our move here had to make her re- rethink what she needed to do to settle us. And during that struggle, I realized now that it must not have been easy for her. And through that journey that we had, a lot of things I discovered by accidental find. And so as we started this program, I went back to the six other couples that we were working with, and I asked them that this is something we should try to do to help our community and help the immigrant youths that come here with their family to be able to settle in here um, comfortably and to understand some of the challenges that they face trying to be an American and an African at the same time. So
So
that's how this program got formed.
so let's get back. Let's circle back, maybe. So when did you come here? What grade were you? Did you come into high school? Did you come into middle
Yes,
school?
I came into high school. I came when I
Freshman.
was 13 and I was sent to the ninth grade. And
Ninth grade.
yes, so I did the last semester of the ninth grade and then I did 10th grade, 11 and 12 before I graduated and went on to a community college and then to a university.
That's not the same experience your husband had. Your husband, let's Dr. J.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was lucky or unlucky, fortunate or unfortunate enough to not have academic experience in this country. I studied in Cameroon all the way to my master's degree, and then I did my PhD in Sweden. So when I moved to this country, I moved as a worker. So most of the experiences that we trying to help kids with have to do with Dilys's background and some of the other couples that are in the Circle of Trust. And the only thing that I bring to bear is trying to help to structure the curriculum for the program.
So again, this is not an easy thing, experience of couples who are struggling with themselves, struggling with marital issues, and then you add parenting issues to that. That becomes a real toxic mix, because I think the kids, they often suffer from the excesses of the parents, who maybe they are fed up with taking it out on each other and maybe just take it out of the kids. But I think it's broader than what we are looking at, isn't it? I'm trying to see.
Absolutely.
So now you have started off Circle of Trust, which is what the organization is called. Beyond just couples, now the families are involved. So what is a particular thing in this program? How is the program structured? And just give us the history of where we are today.
Go ahead, Jacob.
Okay, so Circle of Trust itself started in 2013, so it's 9 years old, and it took us about 3 to 5 years into the program to start having very serious conversations about the importance of also looking at what is going on in the lives of kids. And that's when we decided that the age between 16 to, actually initially we thought of 16 to 21, before I eventually decided to just zoom in on people that are in their last 2 years of high school and about transitioning to go to college. And part of the reason is not because our parents are not very capable, but there's usually just too much going on when they move here that even they themselves are trying to integrate, they're trying to adjust to the society, that they don't really have that much time to pay attention to some of these extra things that the kids need beyond just what they're learning in school to get them properly prepared for life after they get out, when they get out of the home. Um, so we set it on that age range for that reason, and then we had to think about what is the what's the foundational thing that kids need to take with them as they go to college, and it was very simple. It's a portfolio that covers three basic things, where you can be able to have a statement of purpose, so you learn how to write that, where you can have a resume with a cover letter, and how to be able to request a reference letter from somebody, but knowing what should really be in the reference letter in the first place. Those are the core things that we teach during the 1 week camp. But then we add on top of that basic stuff like communication, financial intelligence, which has to do with learning how to build credits and learning about basic financial things in this country, and emotional intelligence, how to build relationships and the value of relationships and networking as you get into life.
So that sounds like, Dilys, you wanted to say something more?
Yes. So uh, the at this point, when we bring the kids, is really because, like Jacob said, the parents are very capable. But what my experience was is that my mom worked day and night to make sure that there was food on the table and there was a roof over our heads. At some point she was carrying three jobs. And so in that struggle of trying to just provide the basic necessities, what we missed out was the conversation on how to build credit, was the conversation on how to write a statement of purpose, a conversation on how to do reference letters or resumes, and all of these things, though they are taught, but they are not taught in a curriculum. They're taught most often outside of the school. They're not taught in the school curriculum. They're taught outside of the school program. And there are other extra programs that schools offer that teaches these things. But unfortunately, because our parents are too busy trying to provide the basic necessities, they don't have the time to pick and drop us from for these programs. They don't have the time to sign up, to even read the information that has these programs that the schools send home every day. They don't have the time to read it. They don't have the time to sign us up. They don't have the time to drop and pick us up. And so those are the things that we end up missing, and it falls through the cracks. The other very important thing that bonds us as immigrant youths that come and go to school here, especially high school, is the knowledge that we're dealing in two walls every day. When we get up in the morning and we go to school, we are called to be American children. And when we come back home, we are we're required to be African children. And as an African child, you don't quite bring the things from school to mom because it is, in the grand scheme of things, so miniature, right? But those are still things that we struggle with. Those are things that bother you while you're at school. The fact that nobody talks to you at school, the fact that you don't have friends at school, the fact that you don't identify with 90 something percent of the people in school bothers you, and it it destabilizes you as a child. But to bring that home and you get home and meet a struggling parent trying to do the best they can, you don't think that's where you should be having that conversation with them. And some of these things spill over into quarrels, into talking back, into struggles at home that it's really can be really solved by communication skills. So that's also why we added the communication skills and providing some emotional intelligence trainings to these young ones to know that they can communicate these things with their parents, with the adults that are around them, without without it being a combative situation.
So thank you very much for that. And again, just listening to that, I wish I had also learned that when I came into this country, even though I came into this country already as grandpa. But some of these things we presume, you're wondering what is happening to the younger generation. We expect a lot from them, but we are expecting from what we have not prepared them for, isn't it?
Yeah.
We just think that, hey, they should. And I love the most important piece for me that I take away is the fact that they are living in two worlds, and you just expect them, the schools expect them to fit in, and then at home you also are expecting that they maintain some, so they are like torn apart.
Yeah.
And so that emotional intelligence, that piece is one that I'm interested in really learning what part of emotional intelligence you are really getting them into. But before I get into that, you mentioned you started the Circle of Trust in 2013 and then started this off in 2018. So
Yes.
what has the experience been? Let's get to the call it behind the scenes. What does it take to put together a camp like this?
So it's interesting, Lambert, because it started from just a few text messages that we sent out, and people responded with $100, $50, and $200, and altogether that came up to about 4,000 at the beginning. And we took that and started looking for a place where we could host the kids. And we found a place in Hagerstown that is what Shepherd Spring. And they actually have a campsite where they do camps themselves, but they rent out to organizations that want to host camps at their site. So they gave us our first try. They rented the space to us. We went around and talked to mostly family members, people we knew. We came and talked at the Buttonsville Catholic Church, and just everybody we knew, we were talking to them about it. And we got some kids that signed up, about 16 in all. And they came for the camp, and that's how we started. It really was the very first camp. Donna was part of the very first camp. And I remember, yes, I remember when they came, um, we were really skimping through the finances that we hosted them at home. So their lunch, their dinners, we did that at home, and they only slept at this camp. So it didn't take much to start, but as we're going, we're struggling to make sure that we we add the necessary things. I mean, I think the very first camp we used our cars. I had my dad do some of the driving for us as we took the kids around. So it's been a growing period where we've gotten from there to where now we spend the whole week at the Shepherd Spring Camp. We do all our activities now in Hagerstown. We take them out of Hagerstown for some civic and government lessons, but outside of that, most often everything is done at the campsite.
So now I saw Donna's really jumping there and saying, "Yay!" So Donna,
The pioneer class.
yeah. So you went in 2018. What was that experience for you? Why did you go there? Is it because parents forced you? Why did you go there? What were your expectations, and were they met by the time you came out?
Okay, so I'm so sorry, but thank you for the question. The reason why I went to Circle of Trust was because I knew it was hosted by my aunt, Untitled Dilys. So it was more of a, if anything goes wrong, I know that I could always like confide in my aunt and like tell her, something didn't feel right. But then again, the other reason why I wanted to go was because I heard that I'll be learning about resumes and portfolio building. And plus, like, I knew that I would need that because I heard a lot of people, like my sister, talking about she's getting a job and talking about building her resume. And I felt like if my sister's not going to teach me how to do it, and I know for a fact that I could go and learn from my aunt in this camp. And also the third thing was the fact that I had the opportunity to bring, she told me I could invite someone else to come to the camp, which was my other cousin. I invited my cousin and also my friends. So they were interested in coming. So I said it would be a learning experience with other people my age. So I was way excited to be there. It was so
So the most important thing you're not telling us is that it took you away from home, where you were not going to be doing any house chores,
at the time
which is
I was
possibly
concerned.
right. So again, great. Jason, Jason is what year? What this year?
The 2022, the most
Jason is
recent class.
2022.
2022. I
Good.
wish Jason really could speak because Jason's batch is the batch where all five of them said they thought they were coming to a boot camp.
Thought their parents were just shipping them away for punishment.
So Jason, unmute yourself.
Jason was texting and saying his connection wasn't good.
Okay. Can you hear us now? And can you say something?
He can hear us, but he's been texting that his sound is not good. He doesn't know what's going on. I think his
can you
internet
guys
speed
hear?
is very slow.
Maybe Jason, if you turn off your camera, your
Yes,
internet
turn it
might
off and
help.
just
Turn
go.
off your
Yes.
camera.
So turn off your camera and then just do the audio.
Yeah.
Can you guys hear?
Yes.
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 His camera is so slow. His internet, I think, is really slow.
Okay, well, Jason, while we are getting you to sort these things out, who wants, Dilys or Jacob, you want to tell us about the 2022 experience?
So it's coming as more of a facilitator. My experience is very different from that of the kids who were getting this. I can only say that being the third year that we're doing it, it was a lot smoother because we already had a template from the prior years and we know what areas we wanted to improve on. We had structured it and be able to boil it down on what activities are good in the morning and what it's going to be in the evening. So what we essentially did was we did all the instructions in the morning, and then we had the kids do group projects in the afternoon of each day. So out of the 5 days, though we had 8 days of camp, there were just 5 days of actual core instructions on resume writing, statement of purpose, referencing, and we did all the instructions in the morning. And then in the afternoon, they had to then write, do work or do a project on what was taught in the morning, and had that ready to be reviewed before the next day. Then they put that in their portfolio. So we started with the statement of purpose. They were done with that by the first day and reviewed the beginning of the second day. The second day we did the reference letter and we were done with that. Then the third day we had somebody come talk to them on financial intelligence. The fourth day they did the reference letter and the cover letter and they were done with that by the fifth day in the morning, and that was reviewed and put in their portfolio, and then their portfolio was done. Then we then had somebody come in and talk to them about communication. We also had a young couple who is just that are just maybe
10
this
years removed.
10 years removed from them. So the lady is 27 and the guy is 28. Knowing that these kids are 16 to 19, so they can see how life can be in 10 years, including the fact that you can actually be married. So, which is not like you'll be living life until you just get one morning and turn on the switch and now you're married. And this couple already have a young baby, and these are high-powered professionals at 27, 28. So they can see that part. And then the last 2 days is mostly packed with them interacting with others. So we take them to the Capitol Hill and do a guided tour. And then the very last day, there's a networking dinner. We had more than 50 other professionals that come and mingle with them. So they see people that are in the professional path that they're hoping they're going to pursue, and mostly people that look like them. And I have to point out that our camps we've consistently have had people from other African countries. We've had Ghanaians and we've had Nigerians, and we've had, I think, a lady from Zimbabwe or was it South Africa, because we really try to sell it as an African thing for the African immigrant, because it's the same experience that we share.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
So
I
go
think
ahead,
the
Dilys.
only addition there are the evening sessions. So in the evening that's where we talk about the emotional
Emotional intelligence.
intelligence conversation, and we just go through talking about We explore the fears and desires
young people would have.
that affect our actions as human beings. So all of us, there are these fears and these desires that once as you process them, that's what drives you to do or act or take some decisions that we do. And so we try to get them to understand that, but not just from their perspective, but from the parents' perspective, right? Because when you're having that argument at home with mom or dad, and you're thinking, oh, she is just not understanding it, that's because she's processing through a certain fear. It might just be the fear of you doing something wrong that would humiliate the family. It might be the fear of you doing something that is that looks like you're despising her. It might be the fear of being criticized. There's so many fears that we process and take those decisions. And so we help the young individuals to understand that that quarrel at home with dad, with mom, is coming from a place where A, they love you, B, they're processing their own fear and hoping that this worst nightmare in their head never happens to you. And that's why they're so hard. That's why they're having this quarrel from this point. So we go on to talk about the ways that you can communicate with them on these issues without pushing them, without embarrassing them, without embittering them. Because when you're shouting back at them, it's just embarrassing them. And they feel like I have to do something about this. So we talk about how you can use these simple, basic mirroring techniques, answering questions, really listening, active listening, being assertive in the way you talk, but not being disrespectful. We talk about all those and use different ways of giving examples so that they understand it. And then we also we start introducing them to love languages. What are their love languages? What are your parents' love languages, right? Because when you come home and your mom, that is an acts of service person, walks through the door and you've not washed those dishes, it is like you don't care. If you understand that mom is an act of service and you come home and you wash those dishes just because you want to show that you care and you value her, she's going to walk through that door and not have any quarrels with you that day. So thinking in that light, also thinking about the apology language, learning how to apologize to people using those 5 powerful ways of apology. That way, even when you don't know the person's apology language, you're still going to hit one of those languages that they would identify with. And so we go through these lessons with them and just empower them to be able to be more productive citizens within their homes, and not just go through it, like power through it, and hoping for the day they're going to exit for college and that's it.
If you are just joining us, you're on the Lambom Show, and I'm on set with Dr. Dilys Minang, Dr. Jacob Minang, Donna Wange, and our friend Jason is still struggling to connect, unfortunately. And we are dealing with how to manage, how to groom, how to prepare African immigrant teenagers for college, for life. And we have just been talking here about the different things that they do, the summer camps that the Circle of Trust has had over the last couple of years. Jason, now that you're here, can you share your experience? I think you're the last ones that just enjoyed this beautiful experience. Can you talk to us about what you learned? How was it?
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yeah,
Yeah,
better now.
Very
go
clear
ahead.
now.
Okay, my thing is lagging. I don't know what's happening, but what I've learned from this camp was an amazing opportunity, because when I was coming in, I thought I was going to a camp and I didn't want it to come at all. my mom had
Go ahead, Jason. Hello, Jason.
Wow. Jason is
Okay.
having real technical issues
Yeah,
today.
sorry, Jason. And I was willing to. I was listening to the part of your mom. So, anyways, we'll get back to you. So, I'm wondering, Donna, what was the best part of the camp for you?
There's a lot of parts. I can't really sit here and give you just one part that was the best
Okay,
part for me.
go for it. If you want 10, okay, give me 10.
Okay, so I first come into the camp, my time at the camp, right? I was really interested in portfolio building because I really wanted to. I was more of a I'm in it for the business. I'm coming here to get information that I can. So I really like the fact I really love the classes. Although our classes were longer, they were like 3 hours. I really like the fact that we had the chance to, build our resume. That was the first time I ever learned about a resume, what to put in my resume, and what the what the employer would look for in a resume. I really love the fact that we got to touch on different types of cover letters. I never really wrote a cover letter before, and I never really knew a cover letter. I didn't even know there were different types of cover letters because it could be a cover letter for an employer and it could be a cover letter for a university. So I love the fact that I got to learn about that. And also, one more thing. This was the most touching part about the camp for me, but because during the time we got the opportunity to network with like 5 different people from different careers. They came in and we all sat in this big group. It was like it was during the night. So we sat in this big group and they had like it was a whole conversation of um different people with different careers. So they sat and they like gave us intel on like what they do in their careers and like what we would expect if we were in their shoes. And during the time, it was just so, I'm not sure what the word is, but right now, the right word is just heartwarming. It was just heartfelt that I, got to learn about different careers. Like, if I didn't want to be a computer systems analyst when I graduate from college, I would at least know what other people in other careers are doing. So I was really like, I was just fascinated. It was just so interesting that, someone out there is actually coming in to come and tell you what they do for a living and how to get to where they are right now. So I think that was my favorite part. That was my favorite
Yeah,
part.
you can
How
tell me
about the
some.
crying session, Donna? You didn't like the crying session?
I didn't know if I could mention that.
Yeah, you can say anything. I was just about to tell you that don't be afraid of your aunt, and okay, you can tell me anything. Pretend as if
Okay,
they are not here. Just say it. It's
okay.
good.
This time when we were talking about the careers and how to get to where they are. It was just a long time ago, so I'm probably like remembering what I can right now. So there was time where during the time I didn't really have my dad. My dad passed away like a while back, and my mom was the one that was taking care of me, my brother, and my sister. So they just started saying a whole bunch of things that was very, it kind of touched my heart, and I was crying because my mom was really doing all the, hard work to make sure we were okay, and it just made me feel like I had to do more to, be there for my mother. It was just a lot. I was,
Yeah, yeah.
it was a
Yeah,
lot. So I started, everyone got emotional, especially me. So I started crying. It was just like a placebo effect. Everybody just started, I started crying.
Yeah.
And all
And
16 of them started crying. They just joined in.
so, but that is the unique thing, Donna, because we have had a crying session in
In
each
every class, yes.
in every
When we have the
class.
emotional intelligence session, it actually pulls out some very deep things that have been going on that they have never had the chance to talk about it until you have that
Yeah,
that environment. That
yeah.
yeah.
But I also think is the the awareness that they eventually come to that, oh my God, this person is not just trying to make my life difficult.
Yeah.
This person has difficulties. My mom has difficulties. My dad has difficulties. And so they are also trying to deal with that. And through that, as they interact with me, I have to cut them some slack. And these are the ways I can cut them some slack, you know. So It's that awareness that often pushes them to be emotional when you talk about it.
Right. So again, if I may, because I mean we are getting deep into this, and I'm really thinking. So my daughter is 11. Kayla is 11. So I drop her off at the library because she wants to get into an art class. Then I come back and she's like, Dad, I want to do something. I want to work this holiday. I said, No, you can't. You are too young. Then she says, I went and asked at the library whether I could work, and they asked me to write a resume. I said, Who asked you to write a resume? Did they ask you how old you are? She said, No. And then she sat down and wrote the resume that was like a letter she was writing to the guy to convince the guy why she should be hired. And I'm like,
Lambert, she's gonna kill you when she
Yeah.
hears this video.
Well, those are the beginnings of a statement of purpose.
Yes.
She's right on
Right.
track.
Right. So again, I'm like, okay, this is not something that I should be bothered about. Killer, you are just 11, isn't it? But I think that what is interesting to me here is the fact that the things that we take for granted, which are the most important things, they don't have the opportunity to learn these things in school. Somebody could get you a class somewhere on how to write a resume, but it's not tailored to, okay, what are the steps? How do you do this with respect to a particular job? And so I find it, again, let's talk to the challenges that parents face to be able to identify these needs of their kids, to be able to push them now to some other things. Because, I mean, let's put it out. You started off with $4,000, and that's $4,000 from $100 here, $200 here. I know that COVID came and broke that chain, but one would now think that it's so challenging. And again, I want to applaud you, the Minangs, because we can take this for granted. I want to applaud you for taking the time out, looking at families and trying to diagnose what is going on with our families, and then putting your time, your energy. You also have kids that you have to take care of, but you are looking at the entire community, and that in itself is a great vocation. I want to thank you for taking that out as your own ministry, your own work, not just for kids, but also for some of us wayward parents trying to put us together. And I'm like, okay, but I asked the question before, why do you want to focus on 16 kids? There are too many kids here that we should be paying attention to. There are too many that we should be getting into the camp. Okay, so why don't you? And again, when I reached out to Dr. Jacob, he said he came to the Cameroon Catholic community in Buttonsville. I said, was I in church that day? I must have been at the back, maybe doing something. But I think that we already have these communities. And I'm saying this because I belong to the African, what is it called? National Association of African Catholics in the United States. We have found it difficult getting young people together, okay? The bishops are willing to sponsor programs. You put out things for kids to come in, they are not there. What are the challenges that you guys are facing, and what can we do to improve on this? That's like 3-4 questions in one.
Yeah, so two things. So the first one, you'll be surprised, it's been very challenging to convince people to send their kids to these camps. And that's why you don't even remember us coming to Buttonsville. So we've had it on our calendar since 2018, where we try to go around to the big communities. And we went to the Buttonsville church. I know we did that in 2018 and 2019. Then we went to the church in Baltimore. And every time we've been in a setting where there are a lot of Cameroonians, maybe at a Birocco meeting, Bambui meeting, Bafut meeting, any other big conversation they invite us to, we try to talk about this camp. And it's not because, I don't think it's because the parents are ignoring it. It's just not registering because it's not something they're thinking about for that summer. They're happy that these kids are home and they don't have to worry about picking up and dropping them off in school, or they can help their younger brothers and watch them while they go to work. So it's just not registering. I had a conversation with a parent that was like, "Oh, she had no idea that we had this thing this summer." After the fact, when she learned that it already happened, and she was like, "Oh, I wish you had come and talked to our church." I said, "No, we did. We were at your church, and there's one student that was there that came from your community." So that's the first thing, and you pointed out like the example of what you guys have with the African Catholic community that you're dealing with. So that's the first part. Then the second part of your question, why only 16 kids? So the simple answer is it's for practical reasons, but also has to do with sowing a seed. Our understanding is that when you sow the seed, it can blossom and must not only be us. And a lot of people have reached out to you and like, it looks like I've been in their head the last 5 years. It's like they were thinking of the exact same thing, but it just has never taken off the ground. I've never just push the idea. And so now making them realize that they can actually do it. And so tomorrow, it's just like some other things that I've started, and then you can just copy. If somebody reached out to me and said, "What I'm trying to start something like this in California, or in Michigan, or in Texas, or even here in Maryland," we can be able to tell them that, well, this is what you do. You don't have to reinvent the wheel, and you don't have to make the mistakes that we have made. So the first one is practical, and the second one we think that we can only do so much. We're sowing a seed. We are also parents. We have kids, and so we have we don't want to hold back in starting something because we think it's not big enough.
Mhm.
Every little thing that you do counts, and we're sure that there are other people doing other things for the community, other things that are also important that are helping to overall to still build strong families. And this is just the one that we're picked on. And we're also assuming that not every single child in every household can come, but the one child that came from that household can help their siblings, can help their friends, you know.
But ultimately, Lambert, we have to start from somewhere. And 16 was where we started the first time. Then after that 16, and to get that 16, I realized that we had to personally talk to most of those children's parents. It wasn't, even though I went and I said it in churches and I took flyers and talked about it in groups, people did not sign up. It still had to be me or Jacob connecting with one of the parents. And I think that's one of the challenges that we have is getting the African family to trust that they can send their child out like this, because they hear it, but they think, oh, this is so far, this is so out there. This country has a lot of um, things that can happen and things that do happen to children that we have to bother about. And I think parents just generally they bother about that. And because of that, when they don't have that personal connection, it is difficult for it to register for them to go and do it. The second challenge is actually doing the application, actually filling it, right? Because I'm going to give you four challenge. I'm trying to make sure I don't forget any. So the second one is actually filling the application, because it also takes constant reminders. Please go do the application. Did you fill out the application? And then they start doing it, and then they'll call you back. At the beginning, we had an elaborate process for this, but we have actually pared it down to actually just submit an application. That's it. We don't want you to do anything else aside from just submit an application so that we know that you're committed to it. At least that makes us see that you spend time and you will be committed. The third thing is um, most often we lose people. So in 2018, we started with 18 registered. We only had 16. In 2019,
Gotcha.
we had 13 people registered. We ended up with six. And
11.
2022, we had 10 people registered and we ended up with five. Now, what happened between when it was they registered and now? Plans came up, and you would be amazed, but it's plans as simple as um, we've planned vacation for that week. Well, but you put the application in. How can you put the application in and not realize that you were still going to put a vacation in? So that the family also has its own things
Understood.
that are their priorities that come before it. And then the fourth thing is the kids themselves. They don't know what to expect. And if the family is not strong enough, if the mom or the dad that was encouraging them to come is not strong enough, they might not come, and they might insist not to come. So they don't know what they're expecting, they don't know what they're coming into. that one actually is the difficult one for us to get over. And we're still thinking about how do we make these kids understand that this is not a boot camp, because most of them think, oh, it's a boot camp. My parents are trying to get me into a boot camp.
That's that's quite interesting. Just hearing that those kind of difficult. I thought you were going to mention that the challenge is about money because I don't think the parents pay anything. It's supposed to be some.
It's free. It's
We'll
free.
talk about that, but the last piece. But that's the only free thing to which many people don't sign up because again, we learned that when if you are organizing something, when I was at Catholic University, we were told that if you want to organize something and want students to come, say there's free food and drink after that. So here we have this free thing, and again, you can't put a dollar value to it, because it's quite expensive to be able to rent out space, bring kids to come and stay there, and then food, transportation, and all that. Your dad had to do transportation the first year. I'm sure Jacob himself, he's not
He
single, but
does.
I'm sure
Yeah.
so again. But again, this I believe like Movie Town 70, I don't know who that is, but says, what can we do to increase the awareness in the communities? I think the people who have gone through the program, like Donna and Jason, should be able to share their experiences, to invite others, to recruit others, isn't it? I think that's the most important because I see the challenge you are talking about. Kids not wanting to. High school kids, why should I go to this thing? Why are you compelling me? I have other things to do. But
It's not
I'm thinking
Dilys.
I'm thinking in terms of, okay,
Okay.
it is not popular in our community. We talk about it way in advance. What can we do? Let me ask Donna, what do we do to get many of your friends to come into a thing like this? What would you do?
All right. Thank you for the question. But in order to increase awareness in the community, I believe that it's by word of mouth because word of mouth goes around way more faster. When I go to church, I can talk about this is going on, get involved in this because this happened. But for my community, I feel like I have to be the one to go out there and post it on social media because my generation is more into, social media, and they would want to see what I benefited out of the camp. That's what's going to motivate them into coming to the camp. They would want to know my experience and my experience while being in the camp and what I gained and the benefits of being in the camp. So it's just going to be based on people that were in the camp, go out there, broadcast it.
Now,
So
Jason, you're
Lambert, in
here.
addition, oh
Let's
sorry,
hold
let's
on. Let's
take
see whether we
Jason.
can get Jason. Jason, can we try one more time?
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we
Can
can.
you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Yes.
Some ways that we can help invite people like just there with
I really wish Jason could call in. Do you have a call-in number?
I not activated that feature of
Okay.
this broadcast. What we are going to do, what we are going to do for you is I'm going to when the Minangs come back, we'll ask you to connect so that we can get you, even if it's we really like to get your experience because I think
Yeah.
for the facilitators talking about the program, everybody's going to say, oh, wow, wow, wow. But I just heard what Donna said. She's an ambassador of the program now, post on social media. It makes more sense for her. It makes more sense for you, Jason, to be able to tell friends, this is what I experienced this weekend. You too can get something from it next year. Yes, yeah, Donna, you're about to say something.
Add on to it. Okay. So I feel like starting up an Instagram page or starting up a Twitter page and starting up an app, which is most used in our community, would be more beneficial because when you start up an app per se, you can go in the app and put like, oh, what we did today. People like taking pictures and videos of what was involved in the camp today. Like if the class of, because we were, I like saying class of, so we were class of 2018
2018?
Circle of Trust. So if you put on there class of 2018, and then we had a lot of pictures. I still have my pictures from 2018. So we could like on there, you know, this is what happened, this is what was involved, and things like that. Tell people, oh, Circle of Trust, this and that. But then they want to say, well, let me see proof, like what really happened. Like, let me see, you know, what really went on. And, you know, I could show pictures and videos of what really happened. But that would be, you know, that would be beneficial moving forward though. But also, if there's like a business, I want to card because people would really all due respect, people don't keep business cards. Most people don't, but business cards will work for other people that are interested in business cards. So a social media account would be beneficial, or a business card per se, either or.
Yeah.
Great.
The Lamed, I posted a link there for the person that actually asked the question. We started off with a sign-up sheet where you can be an ambassador, and all we need for our ambassadors is if you have a group where you're going to, if you have a ex-students group, a cultural group, you just need to you can let us know. We will reach out to you. We give you the information. You take out to the group and you talk to the people in that group about the organization. I think that Donna really hit it on the head when she said word of mouth, because our people, um, it is really that word of mouth. It is knowing that I know this person that knows this person, so I think my child will be safe. And that's what really would bring down their anxiety level when it comes to signing up for this.
So again, there's a link there for the application, and in fact, I should just have the website first. But before that, you touch on a very important issue there, which I think we have not addressed: the fears of the parents. Because again, there have been many stories. When you look at things related to the Boy Scouts, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's a history of abuse, isn't it? And it's a reality. Okay, it's a reality of our age. And if it's not about adults abusing children, it could also be mutual, where other kids may be within that. So how do you address that to kids? What do you do to assuage their fears and make sure that that does not become an issue?
So Liz is going to speak more to this, but just to touch on the fact when you're asking about doing the middle schooler, that's one of the biggest reasons why we will not even want to deal with middle schoolers, because they're even much younger. And so we're willing to take the risk to deal with the junior and senior highs, because even the parents, we are assuming, are already planning for these kids transitioning out of home. And so in the back of their mind, they're already thinking about the fact that this kid should be ready for the world out there. Uh, so the only I'm going to point out one thing that we do, and then Dilys can take it from there. So uh, outside of the instructions during the week, we always have to have a chaperone, an adult chaperone, uh, that spends the night with them, and that way nothing amiss happens in the night while we're away. The second thing is this camp is very remote; it's away from the city, so you're not worried about kids that want to experiment, trying to sneak out in the night to go like to the town or anything. The location was specifically built for things like this, for retreats and for youth camps, and so they do a lot of camps. So you're never worried about it being like a location where some of the young people might leave like in the middle of the night to go somewhere to go do crazy things. It's just not possible. They're at least 10 miles away from the closest small town.
Dilys?
So we also vet those that are coming in to work to volunteer and work with the kids. Um, in addition to that, it is really just for us, it is about instilling into these kids personal responsibility. It is the very first day we do a session where we talk about, I I share my story and I'm upfront with them, and they understand that this camp is about you. It's about you growing as an individual. It's not a come and
And hang out with
hang
friends,
out or come
make new
and
friends,
make new friends. They do end up bonding, and they do end up actually becoming like
lifelong friends.
siblings,
Yeah,
lifelong friends, and they do that. But from the very beginning, they know
focus
we
on you.
expect personal responsibility. We expect you to be on your best behavior. We do babysit phones when they're there during work. They put the phones away. Um, so with all of those that we've put in place, ultimately, we leave it to God. We start the camp with a mass,
Oh, what's the
and
program?
we end the camp with a mass. We leave it to God because ultimately, all the guardrails we've put in place, we know that things might still go wrong. So the higher power comes into play there.
So again, is this something that is meant for some religious people? Is it do they need to belong to a church, go to a church? Is it just
No.
any
No,
agnostic?
It's open to everybody, whether you're um, grounded in some kind of faith or not. As long as you are an immigrant youth between the age of 16 and 19, you are welcome to come. Um, we are a faith-based organization, and when you're coming, you know you're going to listen to or hear or converse about our faith, and it is an open conversation. Um, we don't shy about talking about all the other faiths and having that conversation in the context of crisis. You have to be able to defend what you have, then what you know. We're not we're not saying anybody's faith is different or wrong. We just share ours, and that is what's leading us to do this for you. It's our faith.
Great. Donna, is there something you would have loved for to be added to the camp? Is there some new thing you would like to be added to it? Maybe something that you think.
or taken away.
Um, Something that I felt would have been added to the camp was more government. Um, I would just say community service. We did a community service, which was a donating clothes warehouse where we had the opportunity to go there and see what happens to donated clothes, how to get washed and like folded and things like that. I really liked that opportunity for the community service, but I felt like it to community service. I'm not saying I don't. I appreciated that we had a community service, but I felt like there should have been at least another because
Another one?
yeah, because
Okay.
I wanted to be more.
Was that so that you could make up your community service time from school?
I, oh, I actually had I already had enough hours from community services in school. I was very part of everything. I should say, I gained community service in school from
Yeah.
they're doing
Yeah,
a
you did share that.
yeah, but I wanted more community. I wanted to get to see how it work in the community and things like
Mhm.
that.
Yeah. Yeah, Lambert, I think that's one of the things we didn't mention. We do have a community
A day
service
of community
day
service.
where they volunteer of their time. And we have the government day where we go and um, visit one of the government buildings. And that is just because we want to instill in these kids that you guys are the future of this country too, and you can. It's not all about education. It's also about public service. It's also about helping to build the society that you live in. And so you can be the next mayor, you can be the next senator, you can be the next governor of your state. So we do take them to Capitol. Donna's branch went to Capitol, and we did the tour of the Capitol building. the
19 class
2018, the 2019 class, we
into
took them to
Annapolis.
Annapolis, and they gave us a tour of the state building and the history behind it. And the 2022 class went back to Capitol for a tour and an understanding of the history and how you can be in these walls, how you can work in these walls, and how you can be impactful in this society that you've been brought to and it's now yours.
Great. So again, it's just I really find that for parents like us, again, why would people not send their? You should be having what is that thing called again? Waiting list.
Waiting
Because I think
list.
this is so
Yeah,
useful, so
yeah, but
useful.
my sense is that that would be the case going forward because we've already had two applications for the 2023 class.
Yeah.
So it's like with everything else, it takes time to build up. So getting into the fourth year, I think there's getting to be more awareness. You have more kids that have graduated, like Donna said. So there's more people out there, are more mouths out there to spread the word, and
Mhm.
more parents that feel comfortable that can be able to tell their friends that I sent my kid for this thing. I think you should send your child next year when he or
Mhm.
she turns 16.
Yeah.
So I think we're just a couple of years removed from having to deal with waiting list or consider having two classes or something. But we will cross that bridge when we get there.
Right. So again, maybe for a pitch to the parents, of what advantage is this to a parent sending their kids to a 1 week camp, summer camp? Why should a parent consider sending their kids?
So I can probably say that because I often say that this is the reason why I insisted that it is free. Um, when we immigrated to this country, like I said, my mom worked so hard to make sure that we had the basic necessities to be able to progress in this country. And back then, I think when we came out from summer, I had my junior brother, right? When you came out from summer, it was a matter of me also being responsible to make sure that I was watching my junior brother. She was like, whew, now I can rest a little. I'm going to work there at home. They're doing things that I know that they're doing. So in her mind, she wasn't thinking, let me send this child to a camp. And more to that, she wouldn't even have the necessary resources to pay for some of the expensive camps out there, right? So in if you approached her back then and said, hey mom, there is this camp that Dilys can go to, I'm sure that she'll be looking at paying the light bill, the rents and all that before she can even put money aside to send me to this camp. And so to her, she'll be thinking, Dilys is supposed to be helping me watch her junior brother. What do you mean by let me send her out to a camp? And that's the reality with a lot of the families that are like me that came to this country and they're trying to settle and they brought children just like me, right? So, parents out there, there are things that your children will need to survive in this country. It's not just going to school, it's not just being out there. There are things that they will need. There's a statement of purpose. When they're graduating out of high school, they need to write that. Yes, they are taught in English class to write an essay, but nobody sits down and teaches them this is how you write a statement of purpose. They need to write a resume. It is just thrown around so easily. I mean, till this day, I have friends, grown up friends that will call and say, please, can I have your resume? I would like to build mine, right? So they need to have that resume. They need to know how to write a reference letter. They need to know how to write a cover letter. A cover letter is literally that piece that makes you brag about yourself. And you know, we come from a country where they say you need to be humble. Don't talk about yourself. So you don't do that. You don't even know how to write it on that paper. So your kids need all of this. But above all, what this camp helps with is for them to realize that the world they are in is not just them. They are not alone in it. There are several of us out there, and it is not the end of the world. Having to go to school and deal with someone not sit beside you because they feel like you have a body odor, or having to go to school and nobody talks to you because you have an accent, having to deal with all that at school, and coming home and having to deal with a mom or dad that expects you to still do the African things at home when you're trying to do the American things so you can fit into school. Having to deal with all that is not the end of the world. You're not alone. You have siblings. That's what we call them, siblings. You have siblings out there that are dealing with just exactly the same thing. And I think that's the most powerful thing they learn at camp, that I'm not alone. This is something that others have dealt with. And I think for me, after going through that, I want to show them that you can still deal with all of this and still succeed in this country and still make it in this country and not give up along the way. You're muted, Lambert. I think you muted yourself.
And Donna was excusing herself. She has to leave at 7:30.
Okay.
Okay. Donna, you want to give us the last word before you leave?
I just want to say thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to speak on my experience, and I really hope that people listen to this live broadcast, sign up to COT. It's an trust me. Yeah,
Right.
Thank you, Donna.
Thank you very much, Donna. And I want you to be an ambassador. When I'm looking forward to maybe sometime in April, I'll ask you how many people have signed up through you. You should be able to tell us that. And Movie Town 70 said something. I like your idea of the app, and I think the Instagram page that So, but thank you for coming on, and I'm glad that we didn't talk about the software today. I promise we're going to get to it someday. I'm going to call you in again to talk about this. Okay? So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you, Donna. Thank you for coming.
No problem.
Dr. J.
Yes.
Do you want to add to what Madam said about what to do, why parents should care about coming to this?
No, I think she about covers it all. It boils down to those fears and those anxieties, but sometimes just being overwhelmed and just being happy to have an adult kid that can help the younger ones in the summer. So it takes a little bit of convincing that they can go away to a camp, and it's not enough to try to sell it as a free thing, because if it was enough to sell as a free thing, as you suggested, we'll have a waiting list. It's more about being able to convince them that that the kids will need those skills, and it's going to be a huge benefit for them in the long term. That's what's going to get parents involved, and as we have more and more kids over the years having this experience, it just makes the work less burdensome, because you have more people out there talking about the experience.
So I'm going to challenge both of you that I think beyond just having a 1-week camp, it is important that maybe we have a 1-year camp where maybe once a month we talk about navigating parenting challenges of teenagers, isn't it? And what are some of these things?
Right.
I mean,
Absolutely.
even if it's just one a month, you can still break down the things that you put in the camp, and we can spread that over the year, because I just believe that is so important that our teenagers, when they hear it from other parents and they hear the lessons too from other kids like themselves, it makes all the difference. Yeah, because the whole thing is going to be, my child is telling me that I'm old school, and I'm wondering how old I am that they're already calling me old school, But that is the reality. And there are too many parents who are complaining out here about the difficulties of parenting kids. Teenagers, they are in high school. We ourselves don't understand what the school system is. We don't understand what the challenges are, and we don't know how to navigate these things. What are our own fears that we are projecting on these kids? What are they? But I think that this is so important. That's why immediately this thing came out, I could not help but ask, could you guys come on today? But please, I think this is the second thing I'm promising that we are going to do with the Circle of Trust. Let's take, even, I don't want to be presumptions of your
I
time.
think Lambert, we can definitely commit to
Right.
that.
But even using your platform, we'll have a conversation with you once a month or every other month, and we push it out there. The more people that get on your platform, the more the word is going to go around. Yeah. We only have so much time, but we're willing to give the time.
Yeah, because I think again, this is your own community service that you're doing. So I mean, well, let's build on it, and because for me, it's just so crucial. Especially those years, they are so important for people that we need to. But since I don't know, did he come back or he left? Now, any last words? Anything you wanted to talk about? The last minutes we have.
I think for this specific conversation that we've had is just to invite people to support this, and you can support us in one of three ways. You can support by sponsoring a camp attendee. You can support by referring and sponsoring one of the couples, a couple that you might know that might need one of our couples retreats that we do, or you can support by just being an ambassador. And all of that is in that website. It's in our website that we posted. If you go to support us, the page support us on the website, you can support in one of those three ways. And most, like you've heard, for most of our challenges to be overcome is really doing what doesn't cost you anything, just talking about it, telling people. Just be an ambassador to tell your community group every month when you guys meet. Just dedicate yourself to say, hey, there is a program out there you can be part of.
So again, if you're looking for the website, you have it right there. COT-Inc. That's Circle of Trust. That's what it means, isn't it?
Right.
Yeah.
Inc.org. Support us. The Minangs are always, I don't want to say very humble people. Please, this thing does not, it's like a car. If you put water in it, it's not going to work, isn't it? It needs some fuel, it needs some gas. And just because they have committed to 16-year-olds, so they are having 16 people, is minimally going to cost them 16,000, isn't it? And I know that I have promised that my community is going to raise 4,000 for next year. I'm going to make sure that we begin talking about it now. And I want people, please, the reason we have these conversations is because we want to, I mean, it's something that we could just talk and go out. No, but we want our community to become better. And everybody knows that the state of any community is reflected by the state of the families. If the families are that broken, that is how the society is going to be. If we don't build our families and build our kids, we are going to complain about the communities for as long as we are living. And I think these efforts, these initiatives that couples like these are making, they are things that we need to support. And I like what you said, Dr. Dilys. There are three ways, isn't it? First, for me, this is the most important there. But also, if you want to put in $1, you want to put in here, but if you cannot, be an ambassador of the program. Talk about it to others, encourage others. I have godchildren who are that age. I'm just beating myself up now why I had not, taken note of this enough. So myself, I'm committing that at least one of my godchildren is going to be there next year. I have to do that. Become an ambassador of the program. And for those, Jason, if I see you are back, I really regret that we're not able to get you on.
You're gonna have a show just for Jason one of these days.
I have a friend texting me that one of the court people that he really would have loved to hear from Jason.
Right. So Jason, can you unmute and then say something? I don't know, man. I'm so sorry about this connection, but we'll fix it. We'll get a program just for you. Can you say something? Okay, so sorry. Again, sorry about the connection issue.
Yeah.
Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your time. We have been on 1 hour 19 minutes, but thank you. I want to thank the Minangs again. Dr. J, you have the last word.
Yeah, not much. Thanking you again for the platform and everybody that took the time. And for those that it might be important for them, just to be aware that the Circle of Trust is a 501c3 organization. So your contributions, if you're interested in getting them tax deductible, you sure can do that. That should be fine. But though I suspect most people in our community, since it's a community thing, they just want to support it when they buy into the idea. There are people out there that are looking for things to support in our community, and a lot of people reach out and are like, this is exactly the kind of thing that they want to be part of. But for those that care about it, just be aware that it's a 501c3 organization.
So thank you all very much. Again, we have had a commitment today from the Minangs. It's going to be on me now to make sure that at least once a month we talk about parenting with relation to these teenagers and some of the things that they go through in the boot camp. And Jason, I promise you, I'm going to make sure
It's
that
not a boot camp.
Yeah, sorry. I mean, you guys corrupted me with the idea that it's not a boot camp, so that's what's stopping me. So again, it's not a boot camp. It's a camp. It's a summer camp meant to
It's a
prepare
fun camp.
teenagers to transition, isn't it?
Yeah.
To certain things. So again, I want to thank you all. Thank you, the Minangs, and I know that we are going to meet again now that we have this commitment. Thank you all, and have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.